Hello, and welcome back to another edition of Tech in 10. I guess kind of an emergency episode, as Sonny Cumbie will return to coach Louisiana Tech football in 2025 after Ryan Ivey announced Sunday afternoon that Sonny will return in 2025 for a fourth season. He was hired in 2022, has an 11 and 25 record as a head coach with three losing seasons and without a bowl appearance. I'm going to read part of, before I get into my thoughts, first of all, welcome in. Thanks for listening. This is going to be kind of jumbled, a lot of thoughts going in my head. But first, obviously, welcome in, and I appreciate you listening during, obviously, a lot of time when there's, certainly questions to be answered and, decisions that need to be questioned here in the next couple months and, I guess, weeks. I'm going to read part of Ryan Ivey's statement that he sent out to the public this afternoon. And then I'll get into my thoughts on the decision. I'm not going to read all this. There's a lot in here, but dear Bulldog Nation, thank you for your continued support, passion, and loyalty for Bulldog football. Louisiana Tech's storied football legacy is one that has cultivated a passionate fan base who shows unwavering support. The end of a season is a time of reflection and assessment. After careful consideration, we are looking forward to Sonny Cumbie's return as our head football coach for the 2025 season. Our Bulldogs made progress during the season. Our defense ranks in the top three in the conference in every major defensive statistical category and top 15 nationally in total defense. 8 games were determined by a single score, and we saw a group of athletes who never quit and showed us the meaning of grit, resiliency, and perseverance. And then just a little bit further down, he then says, when he talks about how they have a new approach going forward in terms of how they're going to assess the program and find success. This approach demands the review of several programmatic operations within. In the coming weeks and months, we will focus on our offensive and schematic and tactical approach, restructuring football personnel to maximize our ability to develop and grow student athletes, off-season workouts grounded in competition, attention to detail, and discipline, reimagining roster management, focus on the ability to recruit and retain top talent, and strategic assessment of expenses to invest more in player acquisition and compensation. This approach will improve on-field results for the 2025 season. I am confident that Sonny will meet these challenges head-on, and we will be there to support all changes necessary to achieve the only acceptable on-field result. As the college athletics enterprise evolves at a rapid pace, we remain committed to embracing innovation and a decision-making strategy that ensures success. The goal for our football program is and always will be postseason competitiveness. We will not lower that standard, and I promise we will return to that expectation. As we close the 2024 season and begin to write the 2025 chapter, I am calling upon our Bulldog Nation to continue to support this football program however possible. We need every one of our loyal Blue supporters now more than ever. Together, I am confident that we will begin the next successful run of Bulldog football. So there it is. Ryan Ivey decides that year 4 of Sonny Cumbie is acceptable. There's a lot in that statement. Certainly a lot to chew on, and I'm recording this Sunday afternoon around 3:30. I will be talking to Ryan Ivey Monday afternoon for the Rust and Day Leader, and that story will be coming out this week about just his decision-making process and just kind of what he saw this year on the football field and why he feels like year 4 is warranted for Sonny. So stay tuned for that on our website here in the next couple of days. My initial thoughts, if you go back to my video after they beat Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech that is, after they beat Western Kentucky on the road 2 weeks ago, I guess 3 weeks ago now, knocking off Western Kentucky, there was a part of me as soon as the game ended and I put it in the video, there was a part of me that said, oh, this might be the game that saves him. This program had one road win coming into that game under Sonny Cumbie, and then they go on the road and beat a pretty decent Western Kentucky team with a really good passing offense, some good skill players, and the defense did its job while your offense kicked 4 field goals and you won. And there was just a part of me that thought, oh, okay, I could see it where they're gonna beat Western, they'll lose to Arkansas, and then they'll beat Kennesaw. They'll finish 5-7, and then they'll talk about the 1-score losses. That's essentially. I know there were different parts of Ryan Ivey's statement here that he talks about, but he basically says, in part of the statement, we had 8 games determined by a single score. It's kind of one of those things where I'm not too surprised, just given the way that they talked last night after the win over Kennesaw. You could just tell that Sonny was energized. He felt like just based on his body language and the way he was talking, I could tell he was going to come back. It was just kind of a matter of when they were going to make the official announcement. And now here we are. Louisiana Tech enters 2025 with the same head coach. It sounds like, according to Pete Thamel of ESPN, that the Louisiana Tech is going to search for a new play caller, offensive coordinator. Sonny, I guess, will remain as just general head coach. It's unclear as to whether he's going to remain quarterback's coach. But, there are a lot of ways I could go with this. I think, first of all, let's just look at the objective numbers. Before we dive into what Ryan Ivey says about the decision, I think it's worth pointing out, just for fans that maybe are not aware of, I guess, the super nitty-gritty, data points of what the last 3 years have been like. They certainly have seen the wins and losses. Again, 11-25 as a head coach here in 3 seasons. It's certainly not good enough. Well, I guess I shouldn't say it's not good enough, because the coach is returning. And so, I'm going to be talking to Ryan, like I said, later this week, and I'm sure he's going to say it's not good enough. But I guess my response to that would be, if it's not good enough, then why is it good enough? I guess is my argument to that. And, I know Sonny has a buyout around $1.4 million. That's certainly not a cheap figure, if you're talking Louisiana Tech standards. So I guess I can certainly understand why that was a part of the thought process. Ryan obviously didn't mention that in the statement, but I would be shocked if that wasn't at least part of the discussion. But that being said, if you just look at the objective numbers of what this has been over the last 3 years, it's interesting that they've gone down this route. So here's just kind of the resume. 11-25 as a head coach. They went 5-7 this year, third straight losing season. He is the only Louisiana Tech head coach to have 3 losing seasons in their first 3 years. He is 2-17 on the road, 4-12 in one-score games. This offense averaged 22.17 points per game this year. That's 112th. Actually, I wrote it down. Let's see. Yeah, 112th nationally. 105th in score, 105th in total offense, 112th in rushing offense, and a bottom 15 red zone offense. This offense in his 3 years here has never cracked the top 60 in scoring offense nationally. And yeah, there's a lot more you could get into, but the bottom line is the numbers speak for themselves. This is a coaching staff that has not had success. And I know, Jeremiah Johnson had a really great year here as the defensive coordinator, hired by Sonny Cumbie. So that's certainly a plus in his resume. But, I was looking back through over the past couple of weeks at the release of when Sonny Cumbie was hired. And in multiple paragraphs in that release, it talks about how, he's an explosive, innovative offensive mind. Louisiana Tech's offense and its fans have desperately wanted something like this. They want an offense that can be explosive and hit big plays in the passing game, put up a lot of points. And objectively speaking, that has not happened in 3 years with Sonny Cumbie as your head coach. I'm struggling, I guess, to put together the words. I'm not really I guess I just struggle to understand what the selling point is, because he has not proven to do the thing that he was brought in here to do well. He has not cultivated an offense where this team has ever really threatened. They've certainly put together a couple games here and there where the offense looks good. But overall, I wrote it in my story when, I think I actually included that as well. How many 3-and-outs did they have this year? They had 37 3-and-outs, and they had 32 touchdowns as an offense this year. I guess I just struggled to understand how that, is a sign that things are moving in a positive direction. I can understand that there's been quarterback instability. There's been running back instability. Your offensive line has not been great. You've lost some skill players. At the end of the day, that's on the head coach. It's on the head coach to create a roster that can win. It's on a head coach to create a roster that can compete. And the bottom line is you're outside the top 100 in scoring this year, with one of the worst offenses this program has seen in quite some time. I get that the defense was top 20, top 15, actually, when you look at a lot of categories. And I'm not saying that doesn't matter, because certainly the defense played well this year and they kept you in games and frankly allowed you to win the 5 games that you did. But at the same time, I guess I will say that I'm not really sure what Jeremiah Johnson and his staff defensively have to do with Sonny Cumbie retaining as head coach. I can understand that Sonny brought in Jeremiah. It was a good hire. They were able to find things that worked defensively, and they turned this unit into a top 15 unit in the country. I can understand that, and it certainly was a success. But at the same time, when you're brought in as an offensive mind and you're expected to score points, and you flat out let your defense down this year, I mean, I wrote in my story last night, Auburn and Louisiana Tech. Those are the only two teams in the country with a top 25 total defense that will not make a bowl game this year. Like, that is on the head coach. That is on the head coach that is responsible for this offense, who fired himself as the offensive play caller on October 3rd. And now he fires himself as the offensive play caller, promotes Nathan Young as the play caller, and at least according to ESPN, will now be tasked to bring in a new play caller. That to me is pretty astounding for someone that was tasked with being in charge of running this offense and getting it to a point where you're scoring points and threatening year after year. And so, I don't want to ramble too long, but I think it definitely needs to be worth noting that it's one of those things where if you're a Louisiana Tech fan, I can understand your frustration today. Again, when you look at the win-loss record, when you look at the objective numbers, it is not good enough in a bottom-line win-loss business where the sport is kind of moving away from kind of the bottom tier of this sport. Like, if you're living in the middle, that's the worst place to be. And obviously, Louisiana Tech isn't really living in the middle right now. That they have 4 straight losing seasons, first time since the mid-'90s that's happened. But I just worry. I just worry if you're a Louisiana Tech fan, what message does this send, I guess, to the program's future, where you have 4 straight losing seasons, 3 under the same head coach, and at least according to the release, you still believe that this is going to be turned around. And you know what? Maybe it will. Maybe Evan Bullock takes the next step with a full offseason. Maybe this offensive play caller really finds something out. He finally establishes a true run game in this offense. They find some explosive skill players on the outside. That's a lot of ifs. That's a lot of ifs for an administration that came in with such a clean slate. Obviously, Sonny had his chance to prove himself in year 3 this year with a brand new president and a brand new athletic director on the scene. And he had another losing season. Again, I understand that they're a Hail Mary away from beating Jacksonville State, but they lost that game. They gave up a Hail Mary because their defense was not prepared. They scored 3 points at Sam Houston when your defense only allowed 9 points. Like, you lost to Tulsa, you lost to FIU. Like, these games have to matter. Like, you don't just get to say, well, we beat Western Kentucky, we almost beat Jacksonville State, and we beat Kennesaw, so therefore, we're showing signs of progress. Like, the first half of the season counts too, and you lost games that you should have won. And so it's kind of one of those things where, if you're a Tech fan, I'm not sure what to expect going forward. This was kind of the same tune we heard from Sonny Cumbie last offseason of how we're gonna really hit the transfer portal hard. We're gonna really increase our our roster retention. We're gonna figure out ways to improve the talent. And they certainly did improve some things offensively, just in terms of they got some pretty decent quarterback play down the stretch. True Edwards had a solid season. Jimmy Holiday did some nice things for you in the Wildcat and kind of some of the short passing game, but other than that, I mean, I don't really know offensively what you have to hang your hat on over the last 3 years. Your starting quarterback over the last 3 years has not started. The week 1 starter for this team at quarterback has not gone on to start more than 8 games under Sonny Cumbie. Like that's a problem. That shows that either you have no faith in your quarterback, your quarterback plan has failed, or you have not been able to keep your players healthy. And all 3 of those have happened for Louisiana Tech. And so, it's one of those things where if you're this program and if you're a fan of this program, you have no other choice but to hope that this gets turned around, because clearly the administration has hitched itself to this wagon. And objectively speaking, I think Ryan even mentions it later on in this statement. I am confident that Sonny will meet these challenges head on, and we will be there to support all changes necessary to achieve the only acceptable on-field result. It's obviously left vague for a reason, but then he immediately goes into postseason competitiveness. Like, I don't know how you can say that our goal is to be postseason competitive. We will not lower that standard. I mean, objectively speaking, this coach has not made the postseason in 3 years. So what exactly is the standard? And again, I'm not going to ramble too much longer. I know this is a longer episode than normal, but obviously a big decision, a big announcement today for Louisiana Tech, and so definitely just a lot on my mind. And so, like I said, I think going forward, all you can really hope for if you're a Louisiana Tech fan is that Sonny hires the right offensive coordinator and play caller, someone that can truly unlock this offense, someone that can help recruit and retain skill players on that offense. Because the bottom line is, this is a program in desperate need of a spark. This is a program that is frankly one of the 10 worst in the country when you just look at their record over the last 4 years. And so Ryan Ivey believes that Sonny Cumbie is the man for the job. I think that's one last thing I'll say before I head out of here. When you look at next year's schedule, and I know the conference, schedule is not obviously complete yet. That's supposed to come out, and there are obviously some new teams coming into the league next year. But the non-conference schedule is in place with, your home versus Southeastern, your home versus Southern Miss, you go to LSU, and you go to Washington State. It's one of those things where if you look at that schedule, it kind of reminds me almost similarly to last year, or I guess this year, where Southeastern, that's not a great FCS program. You should win that game. Southern Miss, basically Tulsa this year, where a pretty bad, American program that you just kind of let come in here and beat you. So, then LSU obviously is LSU, and Washington State still kind of in a program flux at this point. So, I'm not really sure what to expect win-wise next year. But, if you're Sonny Cumbie and Ryan Ivey, you have to win at least 7-8 games. I don't think this is a scenario where you can just win 6 games, barely make a bowl game, and say boy, we made it. We're doing it. At least that's not the way I personally see it. I feel like if you're going to make a bet like this on a coach that has not proven to win in 3 years, you better hope that they win in year 4. And I'm talking about winning, not finishing 5th or 6th in the league standings. Bottom line is, Louisiana Tech fans have to trust Ryan Ivey. They have to trust his judgment. He believes that Sonny Cumbie is the right man for this job, and Ryan Ivey's legacy is attached to Sonny Cumbie. I know that sounds grand, that sounds, big, just in terms of kind of the legacy talk, but athletic directors are defined by the coaches they hire, fire, or keep. And, to his credit, it's Ryan's credit, Talvin Hester, Lane Burroughs, Josh Taylor, those people have contract extensions. Those are your most successful programs to this point, and they're locked in for the foreseeable future. But you're also hitching yourself to a football coach that has proven not to win. So if you're Ryan Ivey, you have to hope that things get turned around here pretty soon, because I'm not saying his job is on the line, not by any means, but you're at risk of losing a fan base that is already pretty much apathetic to your football program, and now you're going to bring this back for year 4. You really need to see wins. You need to see wins at a high level. And so, again, the offseason begins. Obviously, the transfer portal here opens up in next week. National Signing Day approaches, and so there's going to be a lot of things that happen for this program in the next couple weeks. We'll certainly keep an eye out as to the offensive coordinator / play caller, and then we'll go from there into 2025. But for now, I appreciate you listening to this longer episode. Obviously, a big news. Wanted to kind of get all my thoughts out in this episode, but certainly appreciate you all listening this year, and I will see you all again at some point when we have some more news to break. So that's going to do it for this edition of Tech in 10. For the Wrestling Daily Leader, I am sports editor Matt Belinson. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.